Shalom, everyone, and welcome to Coffee and Connection. I believe this is week 141, and I'm I was I have missed all of you. It's really been 2 weeks since we got to be on Coffee Connection last. We were in the middle of Purim last week. It was definitely a wonderful experience, thank God. Very busy, but very fun and a lot going on. And since then, as you might be able to hear, I've been actually really struggling with my allergies, and really just not feeling very great. Uh, but we're going to talk about that in a little bit because there's a really important tool that this has reminded me about. I actually talked about this 3 years ago when I had the same thing happen. And for some reason, even though I kind of had it on my radar, I didn't tune into it, which is very interesting how we can know that something has worked for us in the past or made a difference for us in the past, and still, when even though we think of it, we don't like gravitate towards it. We don't run with it. So, but even besides for that, even before I started feeling all stuffed up and like I can't breathe, and yeah, like the physical exhaustion that you may have seen me, talking about in today's topic of like, just feeling very tired. Even before that, I was just last week sending a catch up message to my coach and talking about, everything that's just was going on. She's like, I hadn't heard from you. I was like, it was Purim. And I just really got tuned into like that feeling of a real feeling. And I'm being really just real and sharing from my own personal life. And I hope you guys will let me know in the chat if like I'm not the only one struggling with this, like if you're feeling it as well, just like an emotional exhaustion. Like as Purim turns into Pesach, yes, it can feel like, oh my gosh, now we have to clean and like get started and think about everything, and it can feel exhausting. But I often feel like a sort of energy, like, okay, great, I'm gonna get the house back in order. Okay, great, I'm gonna get things organized. Okay, great, we're gonna get to Pesach. How can I do this as calmly as possible? Like, there's an excitement to it, and I feel like there's just like I feel a feeling of emotional exhaustion right now, and it's really hard to like just even take it all in, right? I remember because I really feel like for me, I know I think a lot of it is coming from the fact that we are now like this war has been going on for 6 months. Like I can't even fathom that. I started counting months today. I was like, wait, what? Like I know it's almost Pesach, but like then I'm like, wait a second, it's a leap year. So that means it's already been like 6 months. And I remember months ago now it is, we were sitting at the Shabbos table and somebody mentioned how they were building like warmer, I guess you call them barracks. I don't know, that sounds like such an old term, but warmer accommodations for the soldiers in Gaza. And somebody said, yeah, because they're saying now it's going to go until Pesach. I had this like moment of like, what? What did you just say? And like my kids saw, like my teenagers saw, they're not even teenagers anymore. My like young adults saw me like really like not in a good place. And like, no, I don't know if the war is going to go till Pesach. I think they're just saying that like they're going to be in Gaza at least until then. So, and I like took a deep breath. I'm like, okay, back to Shabbos and whatever. But here we are. Here we are. It's almost Pesach. The war's still going on, and there's a lot of like the heaviness of it, of just like the concern and the fear and the just davening for everyone and feeling like what could we do, and doing what we can do, but and we're like doing it, and it's a lot, and it's tiring, and it can be very challenging. It can be very challenging when it keeps going. And I'm just sharing like really honestly, and I hope that you're tuning into like where we can be honest with ourselves about like what are we really feeling. And yes, we keep up our face for our kids, and thank Hashem for everything that we have, and we do. We do. And I was just talking about this with a client today, the importance of giving ourselves that permission and recognizing that we really do very often hold more than one emotion at a time. And we can be so thankful and grateful for everything that we have and every miracle that's happening, and feel like a heaviness of it. We can feel like invigorated and inspired and thankful that we can turn to Hashem and daven and that we can learn and that we can volunteer and that we can do things, and to also be like somewhat tired from all that time and effort and energy that we've been putting into it, besides the fact that how much are we giving ourselves permission to take care of ourselves and to do the things that we also know can give us energy or give us more of a feeling of lightness. And so I want to talk today about some of the things that we can really do to give us back some energy, because we do need it. We do need our energy. And I'm not saying that like what's going on is not going on, it is going on. And so that we have the energy to keep going, so that we have the energy to keep davening and keep doing what we're doing, so that we can keep being there for our families, so that we can get ready for Pesach, B'Simcha, so that we can keep being the women we want to be, looking to see how can I, amongst everything that's going on, build myself up? Yes, even I would say, especially with everything we have to do for Pesach. So the first thing is to do a quick check in with ourselves. Like, is everything okay? Like physically, is there something that's not working for me? So I was saying a little bit at the beginning that my allergies have been totally acting up lately. And anyone who's been following me for a while knows that you may remember. I don't know if everyone just remembers all my allergy stories, but about 3 years ago, I've shared about this because it's a very powerful thing that I recognized in life. About 3 years ago, I had been taking allergy medicine for a few years and I was just not feeling okay. I was so stuffed up, I couldn't function. And my mother got worried. She got me to talk to a doctor, and the doctor was like, listen, sometimes our bodies become immune to the allergy medication. So, yes, you're taking the allergy medicine every day, but you may just need to take a different one. And I was like, oh, okay. So I remember it was like right before Purim, this time of year, and I had been taking one kind of medication and I got a prescription to take a different kind of medication. And I remember within like 2 days, just standing in front of my kids, I remember on our way to Megillah going, listen, look, I can't do it now, but like breathing. And I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. Anyways, took that medication for 3 years. Fast forward to the last few weeks, I'm starting to not feel so great. Every 2 to 3 weeks, I'm like, oh, I have a bad cold again, or oh, my allergies are acting up again. And even though I had this understanding of like, and I kept thinking in the back of my head, well, maybe I'm immune to it. Oh, maybe I'll go back to the first one. Oh, like I had that thought, but I wasn't like stepping into it until finally today I had to go to the doctor's office 2 times for 2 of my children. When I finally was said to the doctor, like, "Something's not working," and he's like, "Okay, let me give you a prescription for the 3rd type of allergy medication." So, I started taking it today. Bezrat Hashem, it's going to work. But what's fascinating, first of all, what I remember saying about this 3 years ago was that sometimes we're so frustrated because we feel like we're doing the right thing. We're doing it and it's not working. And we have to have the awareness to say, you know what? Maybe I have to try something else. Maybe I have to do it in a different way. Maybe I didn't realize, like I had to talk to the doctor to realize that, like, yes, you have to take medication, but take this kind instead of that kind, right? It's like sometimes a client will say, I am being vulnerable with my husband. I am trying to connect with him more vulnerably. And then when they share with me what they're sharing, it's like, yeah, I'm telling him he's hurting me, or I tell him how hard I'm working. And it's like, okay, those are important, but when you're trying to first build like a relationship of connection and being vulnerable, that's not necessarily what I mean by be vulnerable, right? That's not necessarily the first place to start in like showing your more vulnerable connecting side. So sometimes we need that tweak. We need someone to say, you know what? Like you're doing the right thing, but let's just do it a bit in a different way. And sometimes, let's take it even a step further. We know what works. We know changing medication works. We know talking to our coach works. We know getting advice works. We know using certain tools work, and we just don't do it, right? We know that when we drink a certain amount of water, we feel better. We know when we do yoga, we feel better. We know when we get outside, when we talk to a friend, when, and we just don't do it. So here's step number one, or the first tool I'm really gonna invite you to consider right now is to just do a check-in, like a physical check-in. If you're feeling tired, am I taking anything that I need to take, drinking the water I need to drink, sleeping as much as I need to sleep, eating the foods that are right for me. Am I like what practically and like just very technically am I just not tuning into my needs or tuning into something that will make a difference for me? Sometimes it's like, you know what? Maybe it really isn't helping me to scroll on my phone for an hour before I go to bed at night. Or maybe it really isn't serving me to leave all of my davening for the end of the day. And then it feels like, oh, this thing I have to get through before I go to sleep. Maybe it's not helpful for me to um, just eat all the leftover shalach manis and then wonder why I feel like crap because I'm treating my body like a garbage can, right? Like, instead of throwing it out, I'm eating it, right? Like, just get curious, like, what but can I practically, like, where am I not taking care of myself and where can I tune into myself and where can I be there for myself to give myself energy? Or where can I recognize is something that might be zapping my energy or not allowing me to feel my best? Right? So that's just number 1, okay? Number 2 is that we do really this is something my coach was stressing to me last week, and it's just so real, and of course, you've heard me talk about it, and we have to remind ourselves of it. We have to find ways to take care of ourselves. We have to find ways that we can, in feeling in integrity, give ourselves those lifts. So, like, really giving ourselves the permission to do that, right? As much as we may have cut out forms of self care, or we might be telling ourselves now's not the time, we have to make sure that we're doing something to give ourselves koach, to give ourselves energy, to give ourselves strength. Because if we are losing it, if we have nothing, then we have nothing to give. We not only for ourselves, but for everything that we want to accomplish, everything that we want to do, everything we want to create in the world. So even if it's little things throughout the day, even if it's thinking of something you've never done, like getting new ideas or putting a spin on something that you enjoy, um, or just, you know, like getting out of the feeling of like I can't to like what do I see I need and allowing ourselves to do it. What can I listen to that will lift me up? Who can I talk to? Even just making sure that we're getting fresh air that, could go with number one or number two, but like taking care of ourselves, taking care of ourselves. And sometimes taking care of ourselves starts to feel like another thing on our to do list. Oh, I got to get that in. And it's true. But the thing is that if we don't prioritize it and we don't make it happen, that's where we could end up not having any of the energy that we need to have. And we do need a lot. We do need, and we also don't want to get to the finish line of Pesach, okay, I got it all done, but I'm a shmata, or I fall asleep at the Seder, or I'm resentful of it, or I can't stand it. It's like if we want to get there besimcha, then we really need to look at how can I take care of myself. We get to take care of ourselves. And sometimes we especially need to remind ourselves of that. I remember a few years ago, I used to go to a yoga class here in the Rova, and we were talking about how many classes we would have until Pesach. And so I was like, oh, not the week before. And I was like, yeah, definitely we need it the week before, like, especially the week before. Like, oh, you're crazy. I'm like, no, no, it's because I know how much there is to do. That's why I would say we really do need it the week before. Like, it's not like we have to go far. We all walk out our door, walk 5 minutes, have a yoga class for an hour, and go home, and we'll feel so much better, and we really will. So what can we do for that time? How can we fill ourselves up? It may seem like so like, yeah, I know I have to take care of myself, but like, are we doing it? Right? Going back to what I was saying before. Sometimes we know what we need, but then we're not actually doing it. Every day we get into that cycle. I know it would give me energy to call my friend whose name I'm looking at. I know it would give me energy to call my friend, but I'm so tired. I don't have the energy to call. I'll do it tomorrow. That's, like, so silly, like, that's what will give me energy. That's what will fill me up, right? But I know if I get on the phone, we're gonna talk for, like, 3 hours, and I won't probably won't be able to go to sleep. But that's also because I don't call enough, right? We don't call enough, and then no, it will always be 3 hours, but, it gives energy. So when we're feeling like, "Oh, I'm too tired to take care of myself," or I don't feel like it. Sometimes I don't feel like it is exactly when it's so important. No, always when I don't feel like it is the time to push ourselves to say, what do I really need right now? What will help me feel like it? Or what, maybe that's exactly why I don't feel like it is because I haven't done it. Right. They say like when you're, don't feel like drinking water, that's when you're already dehydrated. Right. Like you don't feel like it because you so need it. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but drink before you're thirsty, right? So the same thing, we need to take care of ourselves before we get into that like, "Ugh, I don't feel like taking care of myself" place, right? And number 3, and this is really important, is that we get to. I don't want to put any shoulds on us, but what we can do to really give ourselves energy is to make sure that we're in a state of hope. We're in a state of, potential, that we're not getting into a place of hopelessness or helplessness, whether it's about what's happening in Israel, whether it's about what's happening in the world, whether it's about, oh, my house is never going to get finished, whether it's my marriage is never going to be where I want, I'm never going to feel good. Like, wherever we're going into that never place, hopeless place, that's always going to be an energy suck. Like, totally. It's going to lower our energy, and then we're just going to look for evidence of it, which is going to keep lowering our energy. It's a horrible downward cycle. And I'm not talking about being unrealistic or whitewashing everything. I'm talking about recognizing, wait, is there something that I'm feeling challenged in right now? Okay, so let me see, let me be real. What can I do to make a difference here? What do I need to, like, if I'm feeling hopeless, my house is never going to get done. Okay, what do I need to get done? Do I need to make a list and check things off as they're getting done? Do I need to set a time frame to myself? Do I need to remind myself that it always gets done, right? Like, put ourselves in a state of hope. If you're feeling, oh my gosh, my marriage, my life is never going to be the way that I want. Okay, what is it that I want to create? What is missing right now? What can I do to get myself to that state, right? Okay, I've tried everything, like nothing's working. Okay, what could work? What do I know has made a difference in the past? Who can I talk to? What can I do differently, right? What do I need to tweak, perhaps, like we talked about before? And so, whenever we're feeling that feeling of helplessness or hopelessness, to remind ourselves that it's usually coming because we keep doing the same thing, we keep focusing on the same thing, and then feeling like we're hitting our heads against a wall. Like, I keep doing it and it's not working and it's not working. But if you keep doing the same thing, nothing like and it's not working, it's not going to work. Like, change doesn't happen because we keep doing the same thing over and over again. Change happens when something changes. I'm not saying you have to change. I'm also not going to say you have to wait for your husband to change. It's that something in the interaction, something in the tool, something in the mindset may need to shift. And being open to that, being open to saying, what can that be? Instead of there's nothing, is hopelessness, like, and that's just going to bring us further down. So instead, to look at, what do I want to create? What can I do to get me there? That's like the shift. In the Absolute Feminine program, we talk about it as the shift from from what do I call it? I actually have to, this is the next module that's coming out, from stress to desire, right? Like, going from the, like, what's from that place where I'm totally lost and stressed and overwhelmed to actually creating what it is that I want to create. And I have a whole system, a whole method for exactly how to do that. And it's really powerful and it's really possible, right? Being able to really shift from a place of hopelessness to look at, wait, what do I want to do? What do I want to create? Okay, now what do I need to do to get there? And it's not about ignoring your problems. It's not. It's about first acknowledging your problems and then recognizing what's not working so that then, right, after you've given it that recognition, then you can shift to, okay, what do I want to do and how can I create that? And then you can actually stop hitting, like feeling like you're walking into that, hopeless, like dead end over and over again. And it's really important to do, especially in moments of struggle. So rather than, saying like, I just feel miserable. This is miserable. I'm never going to breathe properly again, whatever it is. Being able to say, like, let me talk to the doctor. Let me ask him what I can do. Let me try something different. Let me believe that I don't have to just live this way. And so let me find a solution and to keep looking until we find the solution, and not to get stuck in thinking I'm fated to live this way. That's what Purim was about, right? Like it's not about fate. We don't believe that we're fated to struggle, fated to suffer, fated to this is just the way it is. That's a very paganist way of looking at life. We believe that Hashem is with us and supporting us and that he's partnering with us to move our life forward. So I hope that these different tools are helpful. I'm practically really like using them to give myself energy right now. I hope that they make a difference for you. And this really is continuing in this topic that we are talking about of resistance, because sometimes our resistance to moving forward in life is I just don't have the energy. I just don't feel like it's worth it. I just feel like I can't. And it was, even that the first thing I said about that physical check-in, it was very interesting last night when I was lying in bed and trying to sleep, which I couldn't sleep, which was interesting. I was just like checking in with myself and I'm like, wow, I'm feeling so like just blah, like so like life is so. And then I got up this morning, I couldn't sleep. Like I woke up really early and I couldn't really fall back asleep. And I went and like maybe this cold medicine that I'm taking has, because I started trying something different, has caffeine or something in it. So I go to look at the packaging and at the leaflet that comes with it and like the common symptoms. So the number one most common symptom was difficulty sleeping. Like, okay, there you go. And then they continued, and it was all those like, one of them was like depression, like sadness, like all the. I'm like, wow. So here I'm feeling so like blah and down and thinking like, what's going on in my life? And then realizing there's something I'm taking, right? Sometimes it's something physical that we're doing. Sometimes it's something we're thinking, we're ruminating on a thought that's keeping us stuck. Sometimes it's we are trying something that's not working, right? We're ruminating on an action. Why isn't this working? Why isn't this working? Why isn't this working? And then, like, until we realize, wait, this doesn't work. Let me try something that does. Let me try something that will. So I'm going to, yes, encourage you all to find any of these that will give you some energy, stop you from feeling that resistance to moving forward, giving yourself energy so that you have the ability to say, okay, now what am I struggling with? What can I do about it? And like I said, sometimes it's that loop. The lack of energy has us feeling the I don't even want to try. And that's why we want to check in physically. Is there anything that might be causing me to feel down? Make sure we're taking care of ourselves, even in little ways throughout the day, and reminding ourselves that we're not hopeless. It's not helpless. We don't believe in fate. Hashem is on my side. Hashem loves me. And so let me build myself up, build up my hope, build up my strength, build up my desire so I can say, okay, now what do I need to do to create what it is that I want? Okay. So, one thing that we haven't done in a while because people have been asking me, now that it's on Spotify, can I listen to Coffee Connection in the bathroom? I was like, yes. And they're like, wait, we've been doing some Tehillim lately. So I would like to say some Tehillim together. I know that as much as, like I was saying, sometimes all the extra davening is like so much on us, but it's also something that gives so much strength. It's something that gives so much inspiration. It's something that gives a sense of taking the steps that we can take and turning to Hashem. And you know what? Let's do, if it's okay with all of you, 27 together because I'm still, I still find that to be one of the most powerful Tehillims to say right now. I'm still saying it every day, and it really allows us to remember in the concerns that we may have, in the fears, in the challenges, in the pains. Remember that it's it it's all Hashem, and we can turn to Him, right? That as I'm whatever we struggle with, to know that Hashem is there and Hashem has my back, right? Hashem has all of me, and to feel held by Him and to know that He's holding all of us. So let's say together, um, 27. I'll read it. You can say it with me. לדוד אדוני אורי וישעי ממי אירא, אדוני מעוז חיי ממי אפחד. בקרוב עלי מרעים לכל בשרי, שרי ואויבי לי, המה כשלו ונפלו. אם תחנה עלי מחנה, לא יירא ליבי. אם תקום עלי מלחמה, בזאת אני בוטח. אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני, אותה אבקש, שבתי בבית אדוני כל ימי חיי. לחסות בנועם אדוני ולבקר בהיכלו. כי צפנני בסוכה, ביום רעה יסתירני בסתר אוהלו בצור ירוממני. ועתה ירום ראשי על אויבי סביבותי, ואזבחה באהלו זבחי תרועה, השירה והזמרה לאדוני. שמע אדוני קולי אקרא, וחנני וענני. לך אמר ליבי, בקשו פניי, את פניך אדוני אבקש. אל תסתר פניך ממני, אל תט באף עבדיך. עזרתי היית, אל תתשני ואל תעזבני אלוהי ישעי. כי אבי ואמי עזבוני, ואדוני יאספני. הורני אדוני דרכך, ונחני באורך מישור למען שוררי. אל תתנני בנפש שרי, כי קמו בי עדי שקר, ויפח חמס. לולא האמנתי לראות בטוב אדוני בארץ חיים, קווה אל אדוני, חזק ואמץ ליבך, וקווה אל אדוני. So powerful. What if you've never looked at the English of this Tehillim, I highly, highly recommend it. Not only will it enhance your Elul, please God, every year, but it really is such a strengthening Tehillim, and just to recognize what it's saying, that being with Hashem is our Nu'um, right? To be in the Nu'um Hashem, in the comfort of Hashem, that Hashem gives us strength, that we seek Him out, to remind ourselves when we feel down, and we can put this as the bonus, but it's the everything. When we feel down, when we feel zapped, when we feel like just bereft of energy, to remind ourselves that like Hashem gives us strength, that feeling close to Hashem is the ultimate strengthener. It's the Noam of life. It's the comfort. It's the beauty. It's the calmness. It's the strengthener of our lives. And please God, we should continue to find that, continue to see it, continue to feel it, and continue to move forward in our lives. Bezrat Hashem, I look forward to seeing you next week, hopefully breathing better and feeling better. And we should all have lots of strength to move forward in our lives wherever we need, in whatever area we may be feeling challenged in right now. And until then, may we all be blessed to live, love, and be loved with all our hearts. Goodbye for now.